first off, how are you? Where are you in the world during this crazy time?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and I'm doing great.
Well, we've got season 8 of Below Deck. Can you imagine looking back 7-8 years ago when the show started? Did you think, oh, we'll be on the TV for nearly a decade doing this?
Hell no. Are you kidding? Not in my wildest dreams. I was just trying to get through season 1. It's like going home again. Did I look like I was over here? What the?
Well, season 8, how are you feeling about it? Because a lot has changed between 7 and 8.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through a morph, to say the least. I was sad to see Kate go. And, I didn't know how the chemistry would work between my new chief stew and myself, or between my new chief stew and everyone else. Because, like when you work with somebody as long as I've worked with Kate, you get a sense for how she's going to interact with certain people and certain personalities. And so you get a feel for how things are going to, transpire or not during the course of the season.
When
Yes.
you learned that she was stepping away, what did you think? Was there a moment where you thought, I don't know if I want to do a charter season without her anymore?
It totally caught me off guard. And I was just, never saw it coming. I was totally unprepared. It's like, okay. And it was a long conversation. I mean, this went on for, better than an hour or so. And I just flabbergasted, for lack of a better term. It just hit me hard. And then I started to think about the ramifications of it, because they were huge.
Yeah, it's one thing to process, oh, I'm losing my work buddy, but then there's the world of Bravo that you live in, of this reality show you make and all that. It's a domino effect, probably.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, she's gone, so where does all this weight fall now?
Did it put pressure on you?
I'm like, am I ready for this?
What kind of pressure does that put on Francesca, the new chief stew? Because she's walking in not only having to win you over, but a whole fan base of people over.
I had such empathy for Francesca, because you're right. She's coming in. She's worried about how she's going to get along with the new captain. Am I going to live up to his standards? And she's obviously going to try extremely hard and work extremely hard, because she is a consummate professional. And then she's got the fan base to deal with. How are they going to take to me? Are they going to like me? Are they going to dislike me? A lot of pressure there. That's not your best case scenario.
Right. What is your message to the viewers as we go into this new season? So many of them are going to be sad that Kate's gone. What is the message to them about Francesca?
Francesca is going to do just fine. People are different. Give them a chance to prove themselves. Don't come into the season prejudging. I think that would be a mistake on everyone's part. And that's one of the things I had to, look at in the mirror and go, okay, here we go. New season, new crew, suck it up. And you really can't measure somebody by the vacancy left by somebody else.
I think that's an important, yeah.
It's totally unfair to do that. And so that's the one takeaway that I have for the fans is, do not judge Francesca by the vacancy left by Kate.
Judge her on her own merit.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's any chance you could convince Kate to come back in the future?
I wouldn't even attempt it.
Okay. My dream is for her to come back as a charter guest.
All right. I'm with you on that. You and I are on the same page there. Right? And because I've always thought that Kate looked a hell of a lot more like a charter guest than she ever looked like a chief stew.
And she had the attitude sometimes more of a charter guest.
She does. Oh, do you remember that episode where she and I were role-playing charter guests?
What's a girl gotta do for a drink around these parts? I haven't been this thirsty since the great heat wave in Alabama '92. I'm running out of words to say I want a drink before I go to the table.
Yep.
rests my case.
Speaking of charter guests, it looks like a charter guest this season will push you to a point we've never seen before, where you end a charter early.
Get your goddamn ass back to this boat now. Your charter just ended.
What pushes you to that point?
It's something I've never done in my 36 years in yachting, ever before. I have never, ever lost it to that degree with anyone, whether it's a crew member or a charter guest. And so not only was it a first for Below Deck, it was a first for me.
I think a question viewers have a lot is, are charter guests not on reality TV just as demanding and eccentric as the ones we see on reality TV?
There's no difference.
Oh, good.
I wonder what the poor people are doing today.
Your crew, it's a largely fresh crew this time around. Who impressed you the most out of this new crew?
Eddie. And Eddie is not green
No.
by any stretch of the imagination. And he's not new. But I was really very impressed with the maturation level of Eddie. How much he had progressed in the 5 years since we've worked together. And everyone else that came on board, I got a really just a pleasant, really pleasant vibe. I just felt, wow, this is going to be good. That was my first inclination.
Did the inclination change over time? Did anybody disappoint you?
Disappoint? No. Would I like to have seen some people progress quicker, or maybe have a better grasp of what the job was all about, as opposed to what they may have perceived it to be? Yeah, that may have been true. But I can't actually say there was anyone that I was really disappointed in this year. I consider that a major milestone.
Does that mean you didn't have to buy any plane tickets home for anybody?
No, I didn't say that.
We'll let the firings begin.
What?
No disappointments, but we'll have to watch and see how much turnover there is, as always. This season, the tail end of it intersected with the pandemic hitting. How much did that affect making the show, the charters, all that?
That, when you're out in the middle of the ocean, so you kind of remove yourself from the outside world to a certain degree. So when some of this outside world creeps in, one way or another, it's kind of like, what the hell's going on out there? And that's the way you view it. Like, we're fine here.
Right, we're in a little blissfully unaware bubble.
We're isolated, we're in a bubble. And you go like, okay, let's stay focused, everybody, because this is what we have to do and this is what we have to get done. We still have our jobs to do. Everybody's worried about your people back home, but there's nothing that you can do anything from where you're at now.
The world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Below Deck Med just wrapped probably its most tumultuous season yet. And I know you watch the show, you tweet about the show. How do you feel about how things went down?
Do you think if I wanted you off the boat that I would use this? Huh? No. It is bullshit, because I could have fired you last year, the year before.
Would you have handled anything differently?
That's a tough one. Yeah, I think anybody that knows me can look at some situations that transpired on Below Deck Med and go like, yeah, no, I wouldn't have done it that way. I have a different style of doing things. Obviously, I prefer my style. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. So, yeah, there are some things I would have done different. And I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm saying different. I hope people can understand and are able to differentiate between the two.
Hannah has said the only way she would come back to Below Deck is if she were to be able to work with you. Would you want to work with Hannah as a chief stew?
I don't see any reason why I wouldn't work with Hannah. But I mean, and Hannah probably realizes this from watching several seasons of Below Deck that, On my boat, it's not a democracy. You don't get a vote.
Yeah.
This is the way we do things. There's no crying in yachting.
We'll circle back one last question. If you had to sum up season 8 with just one word, what is your word for this season?
One word. It's still fun. And that's why I still want to do it. Is when it stops being fun, that's when you won't see me anymore.
So that you'll know it's time to walk away when you stop having fun.
Exactly. When it stops being fun, I'll probably stop doing it. But so far it hasn't.
But I imagine there's a difference between when the show stops being fun and when being a captain stops being fun.
I think I might be the exception to that rule, just because I don't consider myself a celebrity. I consider myself a captain that just gets filmed doing his job. And it's like I tell the crew every year, do your job. Everything else is going to take care of itself.